We welcome you back to the Eagles pregame show, brought to you by SeatGeek. Ben Goldstein, Matt Brown, we're back and ready for the second half of the NFL season as it starts for the Eagles in freezing cold in Green Bay on Monday Night Football. Matt Brown, how are you doing? It's good to see you again.
I am doing really well. It's Monday Night Football. It's the Philadelphia Eagles playing a team that I feel like was never like a seasoned rival, but it felt like since week 1 in Brazil last year. Just feels like we've become rivals all of a sudden with this pack. We've become rivals to a lot of teams like last couple of years. I guess that's what happens when you keep winning. But I'm doing well. Like you said, it is a cold one. It's cold here in PA. I couldn't imagine what it's like right now in Green Bay. Let's check that temperature real quick. 33 degrees.
33 real feel. What's that say? 20?
26 real feel. 26 degrees. That is what the Eagles are going to be playing football in right now, and I wouldn't want to be them. I was playing football in high school. I played in some cold weather.
We got a frozen Matt Brown. He's saying he's played in some cold football, and it's going to be cold out in Green Bay. We're gonna see if Matt Brown can get unfrozen here, but Eagles big one tonight in Green Bay. Oh,
sorry, Wi-Fi cut out for a second. We're good. But yeah, big one tonight in Green Bay.
Even it's so cold, Matt Brown's even freezing. So yeah, we become rivals. It's really because of the whole tush-push thing that's been going on with the Packers, and we played them in the playoffs. It's like when the good teams now, like, they play each other, and they start to know, especially with Michael Parsons now on the Packers. It really adds some more fuel to the fire. Anyway, Eagles had a long week, and so did YouTube TV people. And I want to know if you have YouTube TV, how are you watching the game? Put that in the comments. For me, I got the free Fubo 5-day trial, and I was watching ESPN today. It was like, wow, I haven't watched ESPN in weeks. It was like freezing. The quality doesn't look good. So I feel like I'm watching like 1980s television because I got a slow response coming out of the TV. So hopefully that cleans up by 8:15 because we can't be getting freezing going on during the Eagles.
I have never been more happy to live in a cable house more in my life during this whole thing. Like, it's the best. I don't have to worry about nothing. I'm getting my TV show, ESPN, uninterrupted every single week. It's fantastic. I do feel bad for the YouTube TV people out there. I had YouTube TV for a little bit in college, and I really didn't like it that much. And I remember my parents were like, "Should we start switching to this? Like, it would be better." I'm like, "I wouldn't. It's really not that much better." And it's about the same as what you're paying right now anyway for cable. So I'm happy to live in a cable house once again. I never really liked YouTube TV, and I feel really bad for all the Eagles fans out there that are having to deal with this tonight. That just sucks. It should not be. This should not be happening right now, and I know why it is, but it's whatever.
It's the reasons that are going to be given are not going to be good reasons. So
yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is. But a positive that came out of this week was the trade deadline for the Philadelphia Eagles. They made 3 moves at the deadline, I guess you could say, because they made the Tank Bigsby trade. But at the kind of deadline week, which was their bye week, which I love having your bye week be the trade deadline. That was great. And the Eagles got some help during their bye week as well from some outside supporters. So Eagles acquired, first, we'll start with Michael Carter II, who they got for a 2027 7th rounder from the Jets. Or they received a 2027 7th rounder and Michael Carter II from the Jets in exchange for wide receiver John Mechie III and a 27 6th round pick. So you kind of flip-flop some picks there, and then it's really just ends up being Carter for Mechie. And Michael Carter II played a lot of slot in his Jets time, and which is where the only place that he's been. Now he comes to Philadelphia where that slot position is filled with Cooper DeJean. Carter is active tonight. Could we see Carter there and then Eagles or Cooper DeJean on the outside? How are they going to do that?
No, that's definitely an option they can go with tonight. And, I kind of wrote about this when I wrote about Carter's trade for our, that's up on our website right now. It's going to be really interesting, I think, early on how they use him. And I feel like you're going to know early on what type of player you're getting in Carter. Like, if early on he isn't being used as much as you would hope him to for like as you're trading for this guy that you think you can throw out there at corner. If he's not getting used early on, I just think he's going to be used as a depth piece for this team, especially a depth piece for DeJean. But if they start using him in the slot and they start moving Coop outside like they said they wanted to, or like in tonight's game and next week, you'll know in the first 2 weeks whether or not you really have an impact player for the rest of the season. We've preached long and hard about how Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson just haven't been that great this season. They really haven't been the answers, Adoree especially. I was very shocked that Adoree didn't get cut. I really thought he was going to this week when they needed to get down the roster number because they were over by a couple guys. Overall, though, I still think it's going to be Keely Ringo starting tonight on the outside with DeJean in the slot. I think that Carter is going to work his way in, and his playing ability when he gets on the field, if he plays well, I think they'll start adjusting things. They'll start putting him in more sets and trying to figure out what works with this group of corners. The only thing that's really locked in place on where someone's going to play is Quinyon Mitchell on the outside, lining over wide receiver 1. That's how it's going to be for the future, and then they're going to figure out how to do the rest of the spots coming up over these next couple of weeks. Really, I don't think today's the real test because, like we're going to talk about how the Packers really are down on a couple weapons, and they're really not the best passing team in the world. Next week against Detroit on Sunday night, I think that's when you're really going to see how this cornerback room is going to work going forward. But tonight's like the warm up. They're coming off the bye. They have acclimated to the Carter has for the defense. He's acclimated to Fangio's defense. This is his chance. If he really wants to be a starter on this team, he's got to start proving it tonight against the Packers team that really isn't that great in the passing game.
That's for sure. Eagles did a whole haul on the defensive side. You didn't see one offensive trade that they made, but their second was for a guy very familiar in Green Bay. This one will not affect tonight's game at all. Jair Alexander, who the Eagles and a 2027 seventh rounder, which the Eagles got for a 2026 sixth, had a knee issue, did not travel with the team today. I mean, this trade feels like a low risk, high reward. He was awful with Baltimore this season, and who knows what you can get out of him. If you can get something out of Jair Alexander, you could never have enough depth. And if it doesn't work out, you've only lost the 6th round pick, and you could get some comp picks out of that. Like, there's a lot of things that could go into that if it doesn't exactly work out. But how do you rate this?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that, Ben. It's very low risk, possible high reward in the situation. Alexander at this point in his career, even though he is only 28, that's the one thing people haven't talked about. He's still only 28 years old. Like, if he could be what Darius Slay was to this defense last year, that's a home run acquisition for the Eagles. Like that to move down move down 1 year or 1 round in the draft and then move back another year. And honestly, the Eagles had 2026 picks to trade out of. They didn't want to have all the 2026 picks they had. They wanted to move them to 27 because they can't take that many rookies. So the fact that they can do that is huge. And now you get a guy like Jair Alexander who very well could be the starting corner outside of Quinyon if he gets back to the form that he was a couple years ago. Now I understand there's a big difference in 2020 Jair Alexander and 2025 Jair Alexander. It's a huge difference, really. But like you said, this is a very low risk, high reward for this team. And if he even is a depth piece, if you can make it to the playoffs with Jair as like your 5th corner, and you got another Jacorian Bennett coming back hopefully next couple of weeks. We'll see if he comes off IR. You're just growing that cornerback depth room, and you're basically having this rotation of guys that could just fill in and fill out game after game. And hopefully you find something that sticks. So I really like this trade as well. It really didn't cost you that much to get a guy in Alexander. I know he's had some locker room issues with the Ravens when he was there, but I really don't think this is a bad move. Like you've been saying, this will not drain the Eagles at all, and it will give them a chance to have another lockdown corner on this team going forward for the second half of the season and the playoffs.
This is another classic Howie Roseman. Take a shot on a guy that not many people believe in. Zach Bond, a couple other guys in the past that he's done this with, and it ends up working a lot of the times, and it just goes to show how great of a coaching staff the Eagles have here. A lot of offensive line guys as well. Howie Roseman does that with. They go to Stoutland University and look what they become. Maybe they could turn Jair Alexander's season around. And that would be, as we've been saying, huge. Because you can never have enough depth, especially with not a great quarterback room. You can add a guy that is sustainable rather than, going down your depth chart a little bit throughout your CB2 spot. Who knows? This could be a move that changes a lot of things for the Eagles if it works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I even said, you just need some veteranship too. I feel like on this Eagles defense, it's a little on the younger side. Like the veterans on this defense are like a Dory Jackson, and now Brandon Graham's back too. So like that's bringing the leadership back. But like Zach Bond is like the next oldest player on this defense, and I understand you want to have young guys and you want to have a nice mix of veterans too. But you need some like veteran leadership, guys who have been to the playoffs, who have become playoff riser. I remember a couple years ago, I remember that Jair Alexander game against Dallas where he had that big pick six when Green Bay upsetted Dallas. That was such a great game, by the way. I just love whenever Dallas loses. But like he's been there, he's done this. He obviously hasn't won a Super Bowl like a lot of these guys have, but he knows what it takes to be a top player in the NFL. And just bringing that leadership, it's another person that Quinyon Mitchell can pick his brain about certain things like that going forward. I know he had Darius Slay to ask all those things, but now you have Jair as well. So see the things that he sees on the field and during play. So again, just veteranship and just bringing better mentality to this team. And if he gives it just a little bit the rest of this year and stays healthy, he could be a really big piece for this team. And who knows, maybe we could be coming back to this. We're talking about this right now. Maybe we go to January and Jair comes up with a game-sealing interception in a playoff game, and you say, "Hey, what a trade it was!" And maybe he makes a Super Bowl saving play. Who knows? But that's for later on down the road. We just got to get him healthy. But right now, they're doing everything they can. And again, low risk, high reward. This is definitely a move that could help the Eagles going forward.
You have Jair Alexander not traveling with the Eagles tonight, but I would assume he will be active on Sunday night against Detroit. And the last one, the headliner for the Eagles, was edge rusher Jalen Phillips from Miami for a 2026 third-round pick. It's the exact position the Eagles needed. And, Myles Garrett, what people were talking about, blah, 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 that was never going to happen. But you're able to get out a guy, Jalen Phillips. He thrived under Vic Fangio. He's been a little bit injured the last couple of years, but now he comes to Philly, back with Fangio, who he thrived with. And, it's only going to help.
No, yeah, I think this is the best trade that Howie made this whole trade deadline. I think it's one of the best moves that anybody made during this trade deadline. Yeah, I take out the Quinnen Williams and the Sauce Gardner trade. Those are just trading win now moves to trade first rounders and try and get big talent players. I understand those are big deals, but this Jalen Phillips trade, I wrote about it when on our write-up for this trade. And I said this trade can almost not hurt the Eagles in any sort of way. They almost win in every scenario with this trade. I would say the only way they lose is if Phillips gets hurt or if he is absolutely terrible of a player. Like he is just god-awful, unplayable. Like that's the only way the Eagles truly lose in this situation. Because if Phillips stays healthy and plays like he has in the past, that's a huge acquisition for this team. Like that's the edge rusher that they have needed all year, and you get him for a third-round pick. He could be, I don't know if he's going to get 10 sacks in the second half of the season, but if he is getting like 7, 8, even maybe 9 sacks the rest of this year, like almost one a game, like he has in seasons past, that is a huge boost to your team. And then if that happens, you either re-sign Jalen Phillips and you continue to get that great play, or you let him walk. And on the NFL free agency market, edge rushers, defensive linemen, they are some of the most coveted things. Look at Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Look at the deals they just got last offseason in free agency. You got you're getting a third rounder for Milton Williams and a fourth rounder for Josh Sweat. If he gets the same exact deal as Josh Sweat, just saying free agency, you're getting a fourth rounder for him in 2027. Now you move down a round, obviously you trade a third and you regain a fourth, but you basically just made the trade for nothing. You get the pick back overall, and you got a second half of Jalen Phillips who can help you win a Super Bowl and be a top pass rusher for this team that they desperately need. Like that's such a big win, and not many people think about that because of the comp picks. Eagles get a third rounder, like I mentioned, from Milton Williams. So they have their own third rounder to trade away because that comp pick is only going to, if you're assuming the Eagles win the Super Bowl again, that comp pick is only like 4 picks after the Eagles' own third round pick would be. Like Howie thinks of so many things like that. And that's what makes him such a great GM because he's able to think of things like that. Now, the only other scenario is if Phillips is bad, you let him walk. You still can probably get a comp pick for him, but no harm, no foul. You let him walk in free agency, and the Eagles got a young talented player for the rest of the season, and he could benefit from a contract somewhere else and give you the draft pick back overall. And on top of that, their cap situation is saved. They're only paying like what 1.5, I think it was. It was originally 500K. I think it's 1.5 they're paying. Miami's paying for the rest of the contract. You're gonna get an impact player that Vic Fangio believes in. This, I feel like that trade was 100% made because Vic Fangio believes in Jalen Phillips, and he thinks that he can continue to unlock his potential and get him to be the star pass rusher that he was a couple years ago when Fangio was the DC with Miami. So this trade, in my opinion, it really can't go wrong. He would have to be truly awful for this trade not to work out because at the end of the day, they're probably going to get a comp pick for him if he walks, or they re-sign him, and you have a great pass rusher and you get great play out on the rest of this year. So I love this trade from Howie Roseman. I love this trade for the Eagles. I think it's the piece they need. And now their edge rushers are stacked. Like getting Brandon Graham back, you get Nolan Smith back tonight, I'll activate off IR. Jalen Phillips, Josh Uche, Jalix Hunt, they are really deep. And I'm really loving this healthy team right now. Man, I just love when Howie cooks and he just does moves that make you just pumped up for this team because he truly wants to win again. And that's what makes you fired up, or have him as a GM.
It's great having Howie Roseman, and it's great having – look how much a week changed. You got Patrick Johnson was getting a ton of snaps at edge. Now he's not even going to play now, which is just – no offense to Patrick Johnson, but the Eagles have better options now, which is great. So give me an overall grade for this deadline. You got Phillips, Alexander, and Carter. You give up 3 draft picks. You gain a couple – and you lose one player that was never really seeing the field much anyway. So give me an overall grade to Howie Roseman and co. of this deadline.
I would say right now on paper, it's about a B to a B plus with the potential to be an A minus to an A. If Phillips and Carter excel into starters, or Alexander excel into starters, like if you get one starter out of the 2 corners and Phillips becomes a big time starter for this pass rush, you're talking about an A minus and an A. Like that's exactly what they need to do. They hit every block that they need to hit on defense. The offense has all the starters coming back except for Jurgensen. I will talk about that later. All the weapons that they need: tight end, running backs, wide receivers, great quarterback. You need to focus on the defense. You got that. You hit everything that you needed to without spending 2 first-round picks for guys I didn't even think were available at the deadline, and guys like Sauce Gardner. But they did conservativeness in not overpaying for things, and they also address all the needs that they needed with guys who I think have top talent and can do that. So I would give them a B to B plus with the potential to get to that A minus A, and maybe an A plus if all 3 of those guys excel, which is definitely possible.
It's always a good thing that we'll revisit later down the line about this deadline and see how things shape out. On to our trivia question for today. So this offseason, we had the tush-push, I don't even know what to call it. It was a whole episode. It was like a season, not even an episode. It was a full thing. And it was all started by the Green Bay Packers. They were the ones that put in the initial statement, like, we want to get this banned for this, this, and that. Didn't happen. So, my question, the Eagles have used this play more often and more frequently than anyone in the league, the tush push, since 2022. Since 2022, what percentage of the time is the tush push successful for the Eagles specifically? And you have a couple. I'll give you 4 because you're not just gonna, I know there's a couple, a general idea, but option A, write this down, people: 71%. B, 87%. C, 99%. And D is 55%. So again, 71, 87, 99, and 55. Let us know. We'll revisit that later in our trivia question. Again, this is just a knock on the Packers because they stink. What percentage for the Eagles is the tush push successful since 2022? We will revisit that later on in the show. So stick around so you want to answer that. And along with the trade deadline, the Eagles are also gaining some more guys on defense. Nolan Smith is back for the first time since week 3. He re-injured his triceps against the Rams back on September 21st, which is triceps he had surgery on back after the Super Bowl, which is moderately concerning. But it's great to see Nolan Smith back, and it's huge for this Eagles defense.
No, 100%. I mentioned earlier about what just a deep pass rush that this team had. Like you mentioned, no offense to Patrick Johnson, but he was a starting edge rusher a few weeks ago. And now you have your starting edge rushers as Jalen Phillips and Nolan Smith. Like that's such an insane upgrade. And like your depth guys are Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche, and Brandon Graham, who's coming back from out of retirement for his first game. Like you have instantly done a 180 with this pass rush group. And it makes you feel confident going into the rest of the season that you can now start getting after the quarterback. Zadarius Smith still leads our pass rushers in sacks this year with 1.5. I don't know if you knew that. That's a real stat that unfortunately shouldn't be true, but it is. And they just have not been able to create the pressure this year. And it's a really frustrating thing. And you could definitely tell the fact that they were in on Trey Hendrickson and some of the other edge rusher, Bradley Chubb, during the deadline, and obviously Jalen Phillips, who they ended up getting, that they were really going to attack this pass rush position. And they knew that Nolan Smith would be back right around this time. You know, basically when he was put on IR, I think they said like week 10, Green Bay, but this was the week he was supposed to be back. And, you know, he worked his tail off to get back, and I'm really impressed. And he just gives such a great boost because he was having such a good start to the year. He was all over the place. I know he wasn't getting sacks, but he had such a great start to the year. Such a great second half of last year as well. You know, a really good playoff performance in the Rams game, and, you know, didn't do much in the Super Bowl because he ended up suffering that tricep injury. But again, when he's on the field, he hit them Philly dogs. They come to eat, and he is just another one of those great players. You know, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter up front, Nakobe Dean as well back. They love to play, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he doesn't have to be the number one option. Like, he's back to being that depth kind of guy that can work around that whole unit. And, you know, subs are a really important thing in the NFL. And that's a big reason why they think the Eagles are so good at what they do. The depth that they build, they give so many guys like reps off so they can come in and be fresh and get the best out of the 2-3 defensive plays or defensive snaps they play. And then you just keep rotating in and in and in and in. So I'm really interested to see how he thrives back tonight and how this group as a whole looks, because if we go after tonight and it's still not working, then we maybe can have some concerns, but I really don't think this can be possible. I think that these guys are hungry. They've seen the disrespect. Like, Nolan Smith has seen over these last 9 weeks that, like, man, we just keep saying that we suck as a group. And that's just not true. They're dogs and they want to eat, especially him. He is back, and I'm really excited to see what he can do on the field tonight.
Nolan Smith, the Eagles don't win that Super Bowl without him. I think he had the most sacks in the playoffs, run in Eagles history, which is insane. And then the first 2.5 games for the Eagles really hasn't done totally much. Is it because of his triceps? Does he just get off to a slow start? Is this a week where you can maybe see Nolan Smith get into action, or is he going to kind of ease more into it, and we'll see it in the next couple of weeks?
I think he'll be back and ready. You know, I honestly think he's probably been ready for the last few weeks, but they kind of were keeping him off because they knew they had the bye last week. But I think he'll obviously ease into it. You know, having Brandon Graham and the depth that they have will help that ease. But I still think he's going to be out there majority of the time, and they know that they need him to get to the end of the season, and they assume the end of the season is in February in San Francisco. So they need him to stay healthy the rest of this year. They can't go another 4 weeks without him, especially if, like, you get to the end of the season and he's out another 4 weeks and he misses the playoffs. That'd be a huge loss for this team. So they need to make sure his health is there first, but they also want to make sure they can ramp him up. And we're going to mention it later. This is a really tough stretch for this Eagles team right now. Like, if they really want to have, you know, the number one seed in the NFC, at this point, the division, I don't want to say it's locked because nothing's locked, but they're well on their way to winning back-to-back NFC East championships. If you want to do these things, you got to start stacking up some W's. And I know they're 6-2 right now. They're 6-2, right? I can't believe I just forgot. Yeah, they are 6-2. They're 6-2 right now. It's a great start, but you got to finish. It's all about how you finish. The hot teams in the end of the season, they usually do well in the playoffs. Look at 2023. They were not a hot team going into that postseason, and they got destroyed in that postseason back in 2023. Last year, they were a hot team the entire year, pretty much. That's kind of really not a bad example, but 2022, they were a hot team in 2022 with Hurts all year, and then they rolled that into the playoffs as well. So hot teams do well, and hot teams are done, but that is happening by players continue to play well throughout the season. So they just need him to get going as quickly as they can because they have a lot of tough games coming up.
They sure do. Let's just jump into it right now. Eagles are healing up at the right time, as you wrote this week. Also, Brandon Graham is making his return, which we will touch on more after this quick little hit. But here's the rest of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Monday Night Football tonight against the Packers. Next week, you welcome in the Lions on the Sunday Night Football. And then you go to Dallas. And then you host the Bears on a really short week on Black Friday. And then you go to Los Angeles to play the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And then you welcome in the Raiders. And then you go to Washington. And then you go to Buffalo. And then you play Washington in Week 18. Those Raiders and Washington now at this point don't look very threatening. But everything else, those are all playoff teams.
Yeah, no, and the report's coming out actually this weekend that Jaden Daniels might play the end of the season, which is of course right when they're going to be playing. Oh yeah, it's just of course. Yeah. So again, and even without Jaden Daniels, still division games are. Yeah. We thought a couple weeks ago we would be handling the Giants in the Meadowlands on Thursday night. Look how that game went; it was terrible. So nothing is a cakewalk. But these next 5 weeks, like you mentioned, these are tough games. We got 3 games against the NFC North. 2 of them I really heavily think are going to be playoff teams in Green Bay and Detroit. And the Bears are lingering around. They're on a roll right now. Their offense is doing well. Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson is the answer for Chicago. That's not an easy game. A short week too. They're playing that game on a Friday. And then the Chargers, another playoff team. They're 7-3 right now. They're fighting for the AFC West. This is a really tough stretch that they have coming up over these next 5 weeks. Eagles really have to pull out at least 3 of those wins. Because and I think it starts with tonight. Winning tonight is huge. It gets that first game off your back, and it basically tells you that over the next 4 weeks, okay, if we win this Dallas, if we lose this Detroit game, we win this Dallas game, and then, or if we lose that Dallas game, we can win the Chargers Monday night game, we can win that Bears game also at home. They can kind of start stacking where they're going to look the rest of the season, and that's what you need to be doing. And I really think it starts with tonight. Tonight is getting the momentum going, and winning tonight helps fuel the momentum into next week at home Sunday night versus Detroit, which I think is the hardest game in their entire schedule left. I know traveling to Buffalo is going to be tough. I get it. It's going to be a really, really tough game. But I think there's a lot of flaws with that Buffalo defense, and I think Detroit is hot right now. I think they are probably the only hotter team I think than them right now is New England, maybe the Rams. Those 2 are playing really hot right now and really good football. I would say New England's probably one, but Detroit, they are humming right now. And Dan Campbell took over play calling this past weekend. They destroyed Washington. Obviously, no Jaden Daniels. It wasn't really much of a contest. And they wanted revenge for knocking them out of the playoffs last year. But this Detroit team's good. If you told me right now Detroit goes on and wins the Super Bowl, wouldn't be shocked one bit. This is a really good Detroit football team. They're ramping back up to where they want to be the rest of the season. They're in an NFC North race. This is a big race between them, Green Bay. I don't want to throw Minnesota out of it because, they're still fighting for it a little bit. But they did lose this weekend. And then Chicago, too. They're fighting for an NFC North title. And obviously getting 1 seeds and stuff like that. But they need to stack as many wins as possible. And they're not going to take the Eagles lightly. They're going to play their level because they feel like they're better than us. They feel like they should have won the Super Bowl last year as the top seed. They should have won the year before that when they lost to San Francisco in the NFC Championship. They know they're good. And I think they're good, too. And they're humming right now. And it all starts with tonight because getting momentum tonight rolls into next week and rolls into the week after that and the week after that. And you just start stacking more wins and wins and wins. And next thing you know, you get to double digits. Next thing you know, you get to the top seed. And we all know top seed in the postseason matters. Eagles last year got to play every game at home, thankfully, because Detroit lost to Washington. And that was a huge advantage for us. The only times the Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl is when they've had home field every single game. At least since, I don't know about the 80s, but 2004, They had home field that whole time. The year they won the Super Bowl, they played both their games at home. I know they were underdogs in both, but they played both games at home. 2022, they played all their home games, and then last year they played every single game at home. That is so crucial that you don't have to go on the road in the postseason. That winning as many games as possible is so key, and they really need to stack these games against these really good teams. So it's going to be interesting over these next couple of weeks how they do. And again, I keep preaching it, but it starts with tonight and taking care of business. Like, it's a Packers team that you know you're better than. Like, I have respect for the Packers, but they're not better than teams like Detroit. I don't even think they're better than like Buffalo, maybe in the Chargers too. But you need to start taking control in a hostile Lambeau environment on Monday Night Football of all nights too.
How good is it going to be to see Brandon Graham out there again?
Oh
I
my
mean,
God, I can't wait.
he comes back out of retirement last week. Didn't play against, or 2 weeks ago, didn't play against the Giants. And he's back tonight in Green Bay. And he gets that sack. He's screaming. He's talking crap all over again. It's just,
I love
it's going to
BG.
be weird not seeing a Captain C on his jersey. They should just give him one anyway, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
I don't know.
matter.
I don't think they can do that because, like, I think they had to set them, but still, you honestly should. It's Brandon Graham.
All right, let's look at the Eagles' offense now, which is a little bit banged up. Oh, quick note: Adoree Jackson is lined up at the starting corner in pregame warm-up, so you're going to see. Sounds like you're going to see Adoree Jackson starting at CB2 tonight.
A little shocked by that.
The Philadelphia Eagles. All right, Cam Jurgens is out again. He injured his knee a couple weeks ago in Minnesota, so Brett Toth will start for the second straight week, and Eagles rushed for 276 yards. Saquon Barkley finally cracked 100 yards, 14 carries for 150 yards, averaged 10.7 per carry. He had the 65-yard, score on the first drive of the game. Caught a touchdown as well, a total of 174 scrimmage yards. And then when Barkley exited at the end of the fourth quarter, Tank Bigsby stuck in the dagger. How about Bigsby? 9 rushes, 104 yards for Tank, and they are the first pair of running backs with 100-plus yards in a game each since Week 16 in 2013 for the Eagles, when LaShawn McCoy and Bryce Brown did it, when they combined for 248 yards and a 54-11 rout over the Bears at the Link. Barkley and Bigsby, 254 yards on the ground, 118 more than the next closest game this season, and they both averaged combined 8.4 yards per carry, their most in the game since 2020, which is very surprising that they had a stat like that in 2020 to me. But they don't do that without Brett Toth. He was excellent, and it felt like after he's a swing guy. He can play everywhere on the line, and when he gets a full week of practice at a single position, he can show you that he's good.
No, 100%. I was a little bit of a doubter going into that game, but I love what Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson said after that game. You know, they said that he worked his butt off all week. You know, he's kind of been the swing guy on that offensive line. It's been him and Fred Johnson. Those are the two swing guys on this offense who they pretty much are told you got to learn every single position. Johnson doesn't learn center. Obviously, he can't do that. But Johnson learns every single position, not center. Both the guards, both the tackles. Toth is learning both the guards. He's learning some tackle, and he's learning center, which is the hardest, I think, on the entire offensive line. So I'm really interested to see if he keeps this going, because he looked great not last week, 2 weeks ago in the Giants game. You know, he's making Lane and Mailata, they were saying he's making great calls. He's calling things out. You know, him getting the reps at first team center was helping him so much, and it obviously showed. I mean, Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby, they were just phenomenal in that game. That rushing attack was exactly what the Eagles needed at that point, especially with A.J. Brown out that week. So I'm really interested to see if he continues doing that, because I don't want to say tough conversation need to be had, but Cam Jurgens has not been playing well this year. He really hasn't. He has been, I think, a big reason why it has not been working with him at center. And again, it's only been 8 games for the Eagles. Tyler Steen, though, if he doesn't start picking up a little bit too, maybe you move Jurgens to left guard, and maybe you start, or right guard, left guard is Darrison. Maybe you move Jurgens to right guard, and maybe you try to work something out like that. You know, Jurgens did play guard back when he was a rookie, and Jason Kelsey was playing center still for this team. Maybe you try to work that in, and maybe Toth is the man to play center for this team, and you have Juergens and Dickerson at guard and Mailata and Lane outside. That could work, something like that. Definitely a possibility. I don't know if they would do that, though, but who knows what they're going to do with Juergens going forward. I think they're just focusing on him getting healthy because he feels like the only, big guy on the Eagles that just isn't healthy right now. Him and, Ja'Cory and Bennett, those are the only two, and obviously Jair, who's coming in, but those are really the only two big guys on this Eagles team, knock on wood, that are injured right now. And they're just trying to ramp him back up because they know what they have in Juergens. They gave him that big contract extension this offseason. They know he's played well for this team and that he can get back to that potential. But it was going to be really interesting if Toth continues to play this well because, like I said, tough conversations are going to be had. And if he's thriving at center, maybe you just let him ride it out and maybe you make other decisions. But for now, Brett Toth, I'm excited to see if this rushing attack continues tonight. And again, if he continues to play well, the longer and longer he starts and the more reps he gets too. Reps help.
So now Keely Ringo is lining up at cornerback 2 for the Eagles.
Goodness.
The June playing nickel. So we're going to be, I guess we go. Yeah, I guess we're in for a little surprise at who gets the official starting job. Packers run defense is one of the best in the NFL. Could Saquon rush for 100 yards again, or is that just not going to happen against this Packers team? Because week 1 last year in Brazil, he had the hat trick. And he was a great debut. However, in the playoff game, he didn't have as much success. The offense wasn't really thriving at that point, but Saquon did not have as much success on the ground against the Green Bay Packer defense. What will we see tonight?
I would be very shocked if Barkley runs for the 100, the 100 mark again. And it's nothing against, his ability. I mean, if he breaks one like he did last week for 65 yards to start the game, that's going to give a good chunk for that. But I don't know. I just hope that tonight that they don't force the run when they don't need to. Obviously, you want to be able to run as much as you can, but don't force the run if it's not there. If they're shelling out and making Hurts the guy that has to beat them and forcing the passing game, then let things work. I've been saying on here for all season long, predictability is a big reason why I think this team has struggled a lot. And I think that Kevin Patullo, Eagles OC, has finally, lighten things up, and he's finally finding ways to get defenses off their feet, and make them guess at what we're doing, and make some better play calls and play designs that make it doesn't look like they're definitely running, they're definitely passing, and just mixing things up. And that's what you need to do because predictability will only go so far in this league. You only can do so many things when you're too predictable on film. And like I mentioned, I don't think Barkley's going to do it tonight, but again, they just need to take what they can get. If they decide that the Packers just want to play the running game and they want to let Saquon do his thing and they'd rather lock up all the receivers and the tight ends, let Saquon run, and you got to have the big boys up front do their jobs. If not, they got to protect Hurts. Hurts got to break their heart on third down if they can and start throwing to his receivers and his weapons when possible, and get Barkley involved in the passing game as well if he can. I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think Bigsby now is molding into that backup running back role. A.J. Dillon's out as well tonight. We'll get to that in the inactives. But it looks like Tank Bigsby is taking over this backup running back spot. So if he has fresh legs, and he's still young too. I think he's only 24, 25? I don't even know. He's still young though. I know he's only drafted a couple years ago. But he's got them young legs. You really love having young running backs with young legs like him and Will Shipley, who can just, give Barkley some break right now. And Barkley is getting older. You want to make sure that he stays healthy and gets to the end of the postseason. We talked about, or we the big topic last year was he didn't play the last game of the season because you need him for the playoffs, and you do. You need Barkley to be playing in the Super Bowl if you get back there. So all about just keeping him healthy, churning these yards up, and just taking what the defense gives you is really what I hope they take away from tonight's game.
Tank Bigsby, 24 years.
Yeah, that, you love that, man. You love young legs. Young legs for running backs go so far in this league. Even if they're not elite, you can always use them as best as you can.
A.J. Brown also returning for the Eagles offense this week. And surprise, surprise. A.J. Brown did not get traded. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. How about that? Really a shocker. Now, how is Kevin Patullo going to call this game tonight? Because you saw a very even attack last week In the Minnesota game, he saw a pretty even tackle. It seems like Patullo is starting to kind of figure some things out here.
No, yeah, 100%. It only benefits the Eagles having AJ Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter made a really good point on why he knew the Eagles were not trading AJ Brown. Obviously, because they don't want to. Like Howie Roseman made that evident in his press conference after the trade deadline. We're not trading AJ. AJ's a gamer. Why would we ever do that? But on top of that, almost no team was willing to give you a first-round pick at this deadline for AJ. Why? Like, what's a second-round pick from the Bills this year gonna do for you for eight? Like, that's not a return you want. You could trade AJ in the offseason for a first and a third rounder to like I don't even know, like some middle of the road team, and you can get even better value than you could at this deadline. That's why I never. And plus, the cap hit on AJ would be so dumb for them to trade him mid-season. I still don't think they're going to trade him in the offseason either. But if they do, I can understand why. You know, they're a little frustrated with the things that he puts on Twitter, and all the things like that. And they've gotten value out of him already. But at the same time, he's on such a great contract. He is such a great player for this team. And like Howie Roseman said, he's a gamer. He loves this team as much as like, you know, the things come out and the media blows things up and stuff like that. But I'm just happy to hope and that AJ gets back in this offense. And I think Patullo, now that he is, you know, widening his playbook a little bit, I hope that he just mixes things in and uses AJ and Devontae Smith. People, the best part about this AJ injury, and you never want guys to be injured, but the best part is seeing what Devontae Smith can do. I love Devontae Smith. I think he's such an underrated player in this league, not even just on this team, this league overall. And you have two dynamic receivers on this team. Use them both. They are great for a reason. They're on this team and they're getting paid the money that they do for their reason. So I think that it's going to be a little bit of a pass heavy night because I think, again, the Packers are going to force Hurts to win the game because, you know, they don't even think he's that great. But anyway, I think that's what it's going to be. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a pass heavy night. And in that case, I hope AJ and Smitty step up because I really hope that they can get off these Green Bay corners who are like decent. I don't even think they're really that great. The defense, their secondary, Xavier McKinney's good. But other than that, I really don't think the Green Bay secondary is that great. So I hope that they go through the air a little bit tonight and they just dominate and be top receivers that they are on this team.
How are the Eagles going to contain Micah Parsons tonight?
You know, that's the story of tonight's game. You kind of spoiling my notable matchup for a little bit later, but that's kind of the keys to and my key to the game. It's kind of the big question. If the Packers are going to win this game, I truly think it's if Micah Parsons has a big night. Micah Parsons and Edgerrin Cooper, they're two top edge rushers. If those guys are having good nights, it's going to be a long night for the Eagles because Jalen Hurts cannot be taking these sacks all night. You know, he needs to use his legs, roll out in the pocket, create on his feet, find the open guys downfield. And this is a really good Green Bay Packers defense. Like, I know their secondary is a little wishy-washy, but their front seven is legit. Like, Van Ness isn't playing tonight, but other than that, Rashawn Gary, Edgerrin Cooper, Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt. I know they traded Kenny Clark to Dallas in that Parsons trade, so they lose that D tackle. But Carl Brooks is another really good one that they defensive tackle. They have Quay Walker, Bo Melton and the secondary, Carrington Valentine, McKinney. I don't think Nate Hobbs is playing. I think he's out as well, so we won't have him. But this is a really good defense. You know, they're one of the better defenses in the NFL. They're a big reason why I think this Packers team has been winning a lot because the offense has just not been great. I shouldn't say not been great. Hasn't been consistent all season. So their defense has been pulling a lot of the weight. And, you know, it's going to be a really big test for the Eagles. The Eagles have to beat the best to be the best. And it kind of starts tonight. This is one of the better teams in the NFC. If you want to continue to prove you're top dog and the best team in the NFC and the best team in the NFL, you got to start beating the top team. So I truly think that stopping Micah Parsons, stopping that edge rush is going to be the key to tonight's game.
Yeah, you're going to see a little bit of Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson's been banged up.
Yeah.
So a little bit of Jeremiah Lawless. So we'll see how the Eagles are able to do that. And then Jordan Love seems to be like, I don't know how I'm ever going to think of Jordan Love. I don't know if he's good. I don't know if he's bad. Is he a lead? I don't know. We could find that out tonight. This so far this season, 2,071 yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 picks, 72.5 quarterback rating, which is 6th in the NFL. Against the Eagles last year, not very good. 32 for 67. It's less than a 50% completion rate, 47.8. 472 yards in the 2 games. He had 2 touchdown passes, both of them coming in the game in Brazil. 4 total interceptions, 3 of them coming in that playoff game. Eagles play him well, and he doesn't have Tucker Kraft, who's out for the season with an ACL, or Matthew Golden tonight. Here's my question to you. Is Jordan Love a top 7 quarterback in the NFL? Top 8?
No.
Top 10?
I would still say no. I'm off the top of my head. It's Allen, Burrow, not in no order. Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, Hurts, Herbert, Stafford. I'm trying to think of other guys off the top of my head. I'm
Baker.
still putting Dak. I'm putting Baker. I'm still putting Dak over. Suppose we hate Dak, like Dallas. Dak is over him. Trying to think of other guys.
You need one more.
Drake May. Yeah, I'm putting Drake May over him too. Could we even put Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold's having a great year too. Like another guy like the Jared Goff. Putting Jared Goff over Jordan Love. Like the thing with Jordan Love is, I don't think he'll ever elevate a team to a win, but I don't think he'll ever really lose you. Like he'll have his mistakes, but he'll never. He's kind of like Carson Wentz in my opinion. I really think he's like today's Carson Wentz. Like he's gonna win you some games. You know, he'll be a steady quarterback. He'll get you 10, 11 wins a year when you have good defense and you have decent weapons. But I just don't think he's a game changer. Like he is what people thought Hurts was before he won the Super Bowl, kind of, you know? Like Hurts was winning a lot of games because he felt that he was getting carried, you know, and he's putting good performances. But when he started performing high in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl, that's when his tier went up and he started being the top guys, is a really exclusive spot in my opinion, like the top tier. I think Hurts is like right there. If he wins another Super Bowl, he might have to go in that top spot. But, you know, Love to me just feels like Jalen Hurts just without like the rising ability. Like I just feel like he can't go out there and put the team on his back and pull you to a win. Like he's got to have everything work well. The perfect offensive line, the perfect weapons, everything has to go. The perfect head coach calling the perfect plays. Like I just don't think he'll ever be anything more than just like a mid-tier quarterback that needs to be in the perfect situation, or he just will never win anything. Like I just don't think you could throw him on any other team and he could just do exactly what he's doing or even be better. Like it would take even better situation to make him play better. Like you could throw like quarterbacks like Lamar and Josh Allen and Mahomes on a lot of teams and they could still play great. I just don't think you can really get that out of Jordan Love.
Well, we will see what we can get out of Jordan, or what the Packers will get out of Jordan Love tonight. The Eagles will look to shut him down in the frozen tundra. It'll be cold there tonight. And these guys will be staying warm on the sideline in their big jackets because they are inactive. For the Eagles, their third quarterback is Sam Howell. Jair Alexander, who is not even in Green Bay. He's staying so warm here in Philadelphia because, yeah, it's freezing here too. Mac McWilliams, A.J. Dillon, Cam Jurgens, and Ty Robinson are all inactive. Eagles dressing 6 edge rushers tonight. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 4 weeks ago?
I would have never thought that at all. I mean, we were going out there with 4 a couple weeks ago, and one of them was Patrick Johnson, like that was just elevated from the practice squad. Like it's crazy the difference they've made to this defense now. And like I said, it's just great trades. You know, they're setting themselves up for a great second half with the depth that they have. Like their inactives are like Ty Robinson, who was our 3rd round pick this past year. Their 3rd round pick is inactive. Like teams' 3rd round picks are starting for them. They're just so deep right now, and I'm so excited for the second half because I really feel like they're about to go to another edge and just be so much better and better going forward. I'm going to be really disappointed if this team doesn't at least like make a deep run. Like if they get to the NFC Championship, lose to Detroit, or get Rams revenge, like whatever, something happens, it doesn't work out, that would suck. But again, I would be very upset if this team does not even get there because this team is really deep and they're still really, really good.
Packers inactives. We mentioned Matthew Golden, who is inactive, is questionable throughout the week, not playing tonight. Cornerback Nate Hobbs, kicker Lucas Havrasik, and then 2 offensive linemen, Jacob Monk and Donovan Jennings, and the defensive lineman Lucas Von Ness are inactive for the Packers tonight. So
yeah, nothing really crazy. You know, Golden we didn't expect to play. Van Ness is kind of a big loss, but nothing crazy. You know, we were kind of expecting everything in there. The big loss is Tucker Kraft, who's now out for the year. That's going to be. I'm going to really interested to see Luke Musgrave can really pick up the slack that Kraft was doing because he was basically their wide receiver 1 for this team. So I'm really interested to see how Love works without his top guy.
Yeah, maybe if the Packers didn't wear those ugly uniforms that they wore last week, Tucker Kraft would be able to
They're
save
so bad.
his ACL. Them and the Steelers, forget it. All right. Notable matchups, Matt. We talked about the one with Micah Parsons, but outside of Parsons versus the Eagles offensive line, what do you got?
So yeah, like I mentioned, I kind of compared that or combined that Parsons and Edgerrin Cooper. Those are both studs versus Mailata and Lane. Whoever's lined up at who, big battle protecting the edge, and the Eagles got to keep him in check. But my other one, Jalen Hurts versus Packers defense as a whole. Like I really feel like the Packers, they obviously hate the tush push and they hate that Jalen is so successful with it. They're going to try to make Jalen Hurts look terrible tonight. They really are, and I think this is honestly a big matchup for Hurts to prove to people that he is great. Even maybe without the tush push, I hope he kind of honestly, as much as I want them to ram it down their throats, I kind of hope they don't use it and still beat them. That's what I would love to see. Like we beat you and we didn't have to use it. That's how good we are and how much better we are than you. But this Packers defense, we mentioned it as a whole, is really good. Hurts has been balling over these last couple of weeks. He's had multiple touchdowns, and I think 4 or 5 straight games. Packers, on the other hand, they've only allowed 197 passing yards a game this year, 9th best in the NFL. They've allowed 89.4 rushing yards a game. That's the 5th best in the NFL, and only allowed 20.8 points per game, the 8th least in the NFL. They are at the top of almost every defensive category. They have made quarterbacks nightmare, living hell over these last couple of weeks. Even losing some games, they take the quarterback away in a lot of these games. So I'm really interested what Hurts does against this Packers defense because it's a good one, and it's going to be really interesting in this cold weather how he adjusts to that.
I think the Eagles should run the tush push every single play.
Like, yeah, either they run every play or beat them without it. Like, I want one or the other. I don't want them to, like, do it once or something like that. I want them either do it down their throats or just don't use it all and still beat them. That would be funny to me. But, yeah.
Green Bay will never see it happen. We'll never see it coming if they just run it every single play. We're not throwing it. We're just pushing tushes all night long. All right. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the show. They love the tush push as well, and they love when you buy some tickets. Got some Sixers tickets this weekend off of SeatGeek. It was super easy because SeatGeek, they are the best. Go out there to SeatGeek. Use code Philly Sports. And $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Download the app. Link is in the description or the bio. Save some dollars. Matt, who will stand out for the Philadelphia Eagles tonight in the frozen tundra?
I know we're talking Eagles, but real quick, stand out for real. Those Sixers black uniforms, those things are sick.
I got to talk about that. Beautiful. I was wearing my Maxi one. Beautiful.
Oh, so good. I know we're talking Eagles, but I had to talk about that. That was so sick.
Yeah, I was trying to find hip hop, but he disappeared after the second half. At halftime, he disappeared. It was terrible. I need more hip hop.
I love hip hop. But yeah, standout starts with the Eagle game. I mentioned it in the last one with notable matchup, but Jalen Hurts. It's prove it time. This is the big second half of the year. This is when quarterbacks play well and they kind of throw their name in the MVP conversation. If the Eagles continue to be the top dog in the entire league, get the best record at this point, Jalen Hurts needs to throw his name in the MVP conversation. I know Matt Stafford's playing well. I know Drake May's playing well. Jonathan Taylor has been insane. Oh my goodness, he needs to get more MVP love. That guy, we thought Saquon's year last year was great. Jonathan Taylor might be even better, which is crazy saying that as a Saquon lover. But in my opinion, Hurts, doesn't get the respect that he deserves. In my opinion, he, balled out in the Super Bowl last year. He balled out in the other one he was in. I think he needs to continue to play well, be the rock of this Eagles offense and just continue to lead them week after week. So he's my first standout starter tonight. And my second one, I'm going a little pair here, and I think it's going to be one of these two guys, not sure. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. A guy we really haven't talked about, Josh Jacobs is running the ball tonight for Green Bay. He's a top dog, top running back in this league. And I know he's been banged up a little bit, but, he is ready to go. He is won some revenge as well. He hates that the Packers have lost both games that he's played in against the Eagles. So one of the two of the defensive tackles, I think, really need to stuff this run. I hope both of them do. And they stuff Jacobs all night and don't let him run at all in the middle. So I'm expecting a big game out of Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter, maybe both. I'm expecting one of them to really, take this up. I really hope it's Jalen Carter. I think he is due for a really, really big, like a 2-sack week or like a 5 TFL week. Like I think he's due for something really big. So I got one of them be my other standout star for tonight.
Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring the show and the SeatGeek standout stars. Our locks of the game. The Eagles are underdogs.
Yeah.
Minus 2.5, the Packers are. Over under 45.5. And Matt has some other prop bets. I know the betting and sports betting has been kind of up in the air and some crazy stuff going on. But
It has been.
yeah, so anyway, what do you got, Matt?
So tonight, the Eagles have won 4 straight games as underdogs. 4 straight. This is the first time all year they are an underdog. This team as well. I still think they win tonight. Remember the last time they were an underdog? It was in the Super Bowl. I think tonight's going to go the same way. I think the Eagles money line seems like it's honestly a pick 'em right now. It's like a 1.5. You can it's going to be a pick 'em for the money line tonight. I think Eagles is the right play. If you take the points or not, because I just don't think the Packers they're just too banged up for me to take the Packers and stuff like that and take them when they're giving points out. I just don't like that. I am going to take the over. I'm not going to call it a lock though, but I think I'm going to take the over. I know it's cold, but I still think both these teams are going to score some points. The Eagles especially, I think, are going to score some points. So I think that'll do the heavy lifting for that. But my number one lock of the game, it's a prop bet. It's going to happen. I'm locking in right now. I'm going to be shocked if it doesn't. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. It's happening tonight. I think it might happen on a tush push, but Jalen Hurts has scored a anytime rushing touchdown every single time he has played on Monday Night Football in his career. Every single time. Every time he played on Monday night, he has scored an anytime touchdown. I think that streak continues tonight. I think Jalen Hurts finds the end zone for the Eagles tonight. I'm iffy on Saquon lines tonight. I don't love him. I think I would 100% lock of the game. AJ and Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. I think those easily each catch 5 balls tonight. I would be shocked if they don't. That tells you that they just take one of them away the entire game. And for all you sickos out there on defense and your defensive bets, Brandon Graham or Jalen Phillips, one of them's recording the sack tonight. I got a really good feeling about that. I think it might be Jalen Phillips personally. Ben, I feel like it's going to be BG. I think that's his pick. But I think one of them.
I need BG.
I know we all need it, but I think one of them definitely records a sack tonight. So I would, if you're a defensive sicko like some people I know, I would take Jalen Phillips over half a sack. I think that's honestly a really good bet tonight. I think he really wants to show out for this team. So I do something like that. But those are my locks game. Lock number 1. I haven't had a bigger lock of the year. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. Bet it. It's going to win. I really think it's going to.
See, if I could bet, I'm slamming the Jalen Hurts. I legally cannot do that. So we are not doing that. All right. Our trivia question, we'll refresh you here. This offseason, the Packers tried to get the tush-push banned. Since 2022, the Eagles have used the play more often and more efficiently than anyone else in the league. What percentage of the time is the play successful? All right, your options. Option A, 71%. B, 87%. C, 99%. D, 55%. Get your answers in the chat before Matt has his answer. Matt, A, B, C, or D? You're back in school. What is it?
So I'm going to go with B. And real quick, I'm going to say why. Jason Kelsey likes to say on his podcast, 92%ers, that's their name. The tush push works 92% of the time. That's the closest one to 92 I'm going with. So 87% B. That is my guess.
And Matt Brown's perfect season continues. 87% is the correct answer. Matt, I still have not been able to. I thought this was kind of a tougher one.
This is a very tough one.
I thought, A and B were pretty good, and then C and D were just kind of throwaways. So I tried, maybe got some people in the chat. But well, I'm gonna get you.
I think you will. That was the toughest one all year, no doubt.
I'm gonna get you. So, all right, maybe against the Lions, I'll pull something.
There you go.
I'll try to pull something. All right, so that's our trivia question. Now our FOCO fit check. Thank you to FOCO for sponsoring. Real fans need the best gear. That's why FOCO makes the best gear for the most legendary fans. Click on the link in the description to go to FOCO. They just dropped these Super Bowl Eagles bobbleheads, which are only available for 72 hours. So make sure you go down to FOCO and get them before it is too late. They're only going to make number of bobbleheads that are purchased in like 72 hours. So go down and get yours right after the stream. Stick around for the rest of the stream and then go get it. What are we rocking tonight, Matt?
So I got my 2019 East is Not Enough shirt. It's my favorite Eagles shirt. It's my lucky one. I really love this shirt. It's one of the worst sayings ever. The East is not enough. It's so stupid. We also got destroyed by the Seahawks in that playoffs, so it kind of brings back bad memories. But I love this shirt. It's one of my lucky ones. I don't want to go with jersey tonight. I feel like next week's a jersey night for Detroit, but not tonight. Just going with a nice Eagle shirt.
I am rocking, since we're playing a team that helped us get to our Super Bowl 59 championship last year, I'm rocking the Super Bowl hoodie, which I went out and got the night that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Packers were the first assignment that the Eagles had, and they handled business, and now they're going to try and handle business tonight, but it's not going to come without a couple of keys. Negative Foca, by the way. Couple of keys. The Eagles need to win tonight. Matt, give me those keys as we are approaching kickoff 13 minutes away.
So, real quick, we mentioned it all night. Stop the edge rushers. Edgerrin Cooper, Micah Parsons. It's going to be really important to let Jalen run and let him control this game. You got to keep him, get the pressure off. Don't let him get sacked. Don't let him make a mistake. Don't get guys in his face. Controlling the edge rushers is no doubt number one. Number two, take the options away from Jordan Love. We already talked about it. He does not have Tucker Kraft tonight. You know, he's rolling out there with Romeo Dobbs, no Matthew Golden. He's rolling out there with Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, and I don't even know the other receiver, like Luke Musgrave, and obviously Josh Jacobs in the running game. But take away his receivers. You know, Quignon's going to lock down Romeo Dobbs. Take away the other guys and make his night a living hell. You just need to make sure that you take his weapons away, because I don't think Jordan Love can really, make great throws and put the team on his back without his weapons. So you take them weapons away, it's going to be a long night for Jordan Love and this Packers offense as a whole. So stop the edge rushers and take away Love's weapons. Those are my two keys for tonight.
The Eagles have just flipped to 1.5-point favorites.
Wow.
Against the Packers. They open as 2.5-point underdogs, so now the Eagles are favorites. Does that change anything for you tonight?
You know, it feels like that America's thinking the Eagles are finally going to win. So I'm sticking with that. I do think the Eagles are going to win. I'm spoiling my pick for who I think is going to win tonight, but that's just how it seems like it's going to go tonight. The Vegas knows, and that's honestly who controls things at this point.
They know, we know. Eagles tonight going for win number 7 on the air. Make sure to put your predictions in that chat. We want to see them. I'm going Eagles 27-15. Yeah, 15. Well, let's get weird tonight. Eagles get the win.
I like it. I also have the Eagles scoring 27. I had the Packers keeping it close, 27-20. I think Josh Jacobs finds the end zone for Green Bay. They kick some field goals. I think Hurts gets that rushing touchdown. He might get 2 tonight. They really want him to get all that tonight, but I think maybe A.J. Brown finds the end zone. Hurts, another really big night, putting his name in that MVP conversation. Eagles win, though, 27-20. Sorry, Ben, but you're all good.
We're all good. 27-20, Matt. I'm going 27-15. Let's get weird, man. Let's get 15.
I like it.
Thank you all for watching the Eagles pregame show brought to you by SeatGeek. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring pregame show and Foco for sponsoring our FootCheck.com post-game, and Matt Brown will have the write-up for you and social media throughout the evening and the week, as we have Eagles coverage all throughout the week. Ben Goldstein, Matt Brown, signing off. Go Birds!
Go Birds!